In today's video, I'm going to be using a 5.1 megapixel camera from 2004. The camera I will be using is a Nikon Coolpix 5200. I've taken the camera out of me over the past few days. I went out and took some nighttime shots around Blue Hour and also went to the beach. And today I'm in a quaint little town in England. It's an antiques village, so it'll be interesting to see what I can see. And it'll give you a good example of the pictures and videos this camera can make. So I hope you enjoy the video and let's get into it. I wasn't actually aware I was going to be using this specific camera for this video until someone in one of my comment sections actually requested it, and I thought, I've got one of them somewhere. I've got a few Nikon models that I haven't come around to using. As I'll explain later on in the video, this one had a few faults. It's still in working condition, so I thought, why not take it for a spin? It was on that same day that I decided to take it out. I took it out around Blue Hour, so just after sunset. I wanted to get some moody nighttime shots just to see what it can do in this environment. Instantly after seeing these pictures when I got home, I fell in love with the camera. I just loved the moodiness of it. Obviously the time of day probably set the tone, but I just loved the way the images came out. And one of the buses going past with the lights, that was just normal automatic mode. I stood as still as I possibly could and took the picture, because these old cameras don't really do so well in low light. But as I said, it just gives it that moody feeling. I just really love the pictures, so I'll definitely be doing this more often, going out in the evenings and hopefully implementing more photos like this into the YouTube videos. After what felt like a successful night of shooting, I decided to take the camera out to the seaside the next day. It's still a bit windy and cold here in England and overcast, but I do think the seaside always makes for an interesting picture with the water, the sand, and a few different interesting objects. All of these pictures are unedited and raw from the automatic mode on the camera. Obviously there's a few settings you can change, and if you've got the camera yourself you could use it to how you'd want to use it. I say it in most of my videos that obviously because I use a few different cameras, I only really get the opportunity to use it in automatic, because I only have these few days to take the pictures and then tell you what I think about it and make these videos. And then before I knew it, I was heading towards the antiques village on the final day of this camera. Obviously I'll use it again, but in terms of the video, it's the final day of using it. It's a cool little village. It's got an antique centre and there's like 5 houses. I'd love to live there one day. It's got a couple of little pubs and it's just very British. The weather was on my side, so before I got here I checked the public footpaths map and saw this little gem. I've never been to this little bit before, and it's basically just next to like a little river. There's an old boat, and you can tell the people that live in this area maintain everything very nicely. It feels rickety and old, but it's maintained. I realised I didn't get much video footage inside the shops and stalls. I was just taking photos mainly. I guess this is a good way for you to see how the camera performs in certain situations. Obviously these pictures aren't going to change the world, and I wasn't trying to go like full photographer mode. I was just taking pictures of things that took my interest, and at the end of the day that's what these little cameras are good for, just putting in your pocket and capturing memories with. As I said, not the most amazing pictures, like I won't be hanging them up on my wall anytime soon, but as I'm a channel that shares these cameras and what they do, I think it's good for me to use them in normal situations like this, like a little day out just taking pictures of the things you see. I also got some video footage for you to check out. This camera does allow you to zoom whilst recording, whereas in some other models of these old digital cameras don't allow you to do that, so that's always good to know. I think it would be great for like a party setting, you know, with the neon lights and bright colours and just everyone having a laugh in the video, but I think it'll give it a good nostalgic party feeling. I'm actually going to a gig this month, so I'm planning to take a camera. I'm not sure exactly what camera yet, but I'll take one to that, and you can see an example of the video and how it works in that sort of setting. So overall, I really enjoyed this camera. I think it performs better than I thought it would, as it is a 5.1 megapixel, but the pictures come out almost like an 8 megapixel. Now that sounds a bit bizarre because it's not, but I think at the time this was one of their leading cameras that they were selling, so you would expect higher quality for what it is. I originally bought this camera because I was in the market for something with a viewfinder, and at the time I wasn't really thinking it through because I've used these cameras with viewfinders before and I know they're terrible. It is cool obviously to look through with your eye, but you really can't frame it and see the image as good as you can on the LCD screen on the back. The camera comes with a few modes and different settings that you can change obviously. Like I've explained in the video, I only have a few short days really to make these videos and dive into the cameras. I know I could go really more in depth with them, but I think if I just shoot them in automatic mode and show it for what it is, then obviously you know how you would change the settings or how you would use the camera. So I hope this format works for everyone, and if you did want me to go more in depth with certain cameras, or if you want me to go more in depth in general, just let me know in the comments. The camera takes an SD card, which is ideal, and it also uses a rechargeable battery. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, the camera has a fault, and this has been a problem for me in the past with other cameras. The battery door latch is broken. Someone actually commented on my last video, so if you're seeing this, then I've got the same problem as you. And what I've noticed in the past, sometimes the camera can randomly turn off. I took it out on the first, when I went on the nighttime walk, and it done it, but then ever since it didn't do it. So I think I was slightly holding the door shut, but I wasn't actually trying, and I sort of forgot that it done that, and the door wasn't a problem in the end, so it wasn't even really a fault. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I really enjoyed using this camera. It was fun to take it out. It's actually more compact than I thought it was. When I saw the pictures, it looked a bit bigger. It's got loads of settings, and I like the little quirks of Nikon. I think a lot of people do go for Sony cyber shots and don't really give Nikon a chance. Maybe you do. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this camera and what camera you'd like to see me use next. So thank you for watching. If you could subscribe and join the community, it would mean the world. Goodbye. These swans are massive.